It's good to see Joe, and it's good to see that Joe has come out of his depression. Boy, listening to all that, you must think, well, how old is this guy? Good Lord in heaven. But anyway, thank you. That's very, very kind. And before I go any further, a shout out from retired Professor Susan Rental. She's hot off her campaign from trying to make Jane Addams the face on the $20 bill. So she's a little exhausted at home. But she says it's okay, we can live with Harriet. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Well, even though I graduated from this institution over 30 years ago, I remember my own pinning ceremony as if it were only last year. To let the rest of you in on a little joke, it was just last year. But it took a while for us hooligans. We got respectable graduates now. The hooligans in 1983, you have to take a little longer to get approval. But there's probably not a high percentage of MacMurray graduates that leave this venerable Methodist institution and go on to become Catholic priests in an 800-year-old religious order of itinerant mendicant preachers. Yet in God's serendipitous way, MacMurray played a pivotal role in shaping my vocation. Had it not been for MacMurray's unique influence, I never would have been moved to major in ecumenism, the study of the commonalities and differences among the Christian denominations. And had it not been for MacMurray, I probably never would have been invited over to the Vatican private study of John Paul II with 7 other of my ecumenism majors during Christian Unity Week. So I have MacMurray to thank for that. And if it wasn't for my social work experience here at MacMurray, I would never have felt the nagging urgency after only a year of graduation to go and work with the poor of Calcutta with Mother Teresa, or 2 summers later with the Maryknoll missionaries in Nairobi, Kenya. These amazing experiences and encounters did not begin with me, but with the seeds planted here. When you and I look back honestly and humbly in the rearview mirror of life, we begin to recognize that we are not our own achievements. We are the work of countless others. They brought us to this moment. And in moments like this, we recognize the resounding truth behind St. Paul's question, what do you have that is not a gift? Now, truth in advertising. I did not come to MacMurray to find God, but rather to hide from him. It did not work. Apparently, God likes the Methodists every bit as much as he likes the Catholics. Maybe even a little bit more. Because it was here on this campus that God called my bluff. It was here on these grounds that I discovered the gospel in action, especially in a new academic discipline called social work. Through social work as it was taught here, God challenged me to get my hands dirty with real people and with real pain. And that's right in the spirit with my new boss, Pope Francis, who famously tells us true shepherds should smell like the sheep. Social work was my initial response to the summons we all receive. Follow me. MacMurray first taught me the openness of a true shepherd through the Ecumenical Church Chaplaincy Program under Professor Jim Goulding's leadership, which I joined with my gentle giant of a roommate, Pastor Fender. But it was here in this department, among my dedicated classmates and under professor, coach, friend, sometimes nanny, always doctor of affirmation, Susan Rental, that the budding desire to give my life in service of others was nurtured and cultivated. First in social work, and then in a call within a call to the priesthood. Social work has given integrity to the soul of my vocation as a priest. Because looking back, social work here challenged me not to linger in the lofty heights of idealism, but to be rooted in the gritty, daily realism of human need and systemic suffering. It challenged me to leave the safety of the stands as a spectator and to get out on the court of life as a change agent. My professors and my classmates kept me honest. When one day I was returning from my internship and glibly commented on the walking wounded, I was gently and firmly rebuked by a classmate that said, "We are all the walking wounded, Andrew, and we should never forget it." She was right, and I never have. My experience here at MacMurray gave vision to an evolving vocation in embryonic form. As Proverbs teaches us, without a vision, the people perish. Even more so, without a vision, the social worker perishes. So one of the things I want to leave you with today is the importance of carrying forth from your MacMurray experience not only a profound gratitude, but one that is fueled by a clear vision of what you are and what you are not pursuing after graduation. Because how you begin anything is everything. One of my mentors, Alice in Wonderland, exemplifies what vision is not in her famous meeting with the Cheshire Cat. Do you remember the question that she asked him when she comes to that fork in the road? "Would you tell me, please, sir, which way I ought to go from here?" He responds, "Well, that depends a good deal on where you want to get to." Alice responds, "I don't much care where." Then the cat says, "It doesn't matter which way you go." Before you take the next step in the road, you have to know where you want to get to. Vision is deciding now with conviction to be now what you want to become. As that sappy self-help guru puts it in the new Sally Fields movie, Hello, My Name is Doris, there are 7 days in the week, and Sunday is not one of them. Why is this important? In her memoir, 20 Years After Hull House, James Adams bemoaned the fact that her students were taught in the classroom to put the common good of society front and center, only to graduate and have everyone teach them the opposite, that to put themselves, their needs, their career front and center. Their zeal for taking on society's ills and for serving others was dampened and defeated. Their enthusiasm was eventually deadened by cultural expectations of personal and professional success. If you don't define a vision of who you are now as a social worker, I guarantee you the culture will do it for you. Vision is simply seeing the end in the beginning, whatever you're pursuing. It's knowing where you want to get to. Now, most people's default mechanism is the pursuit of a career, and others encourage them immediately to get going on that proverbial 5-year career plan. I want to suggest to you this afternoon that what you are doing is far deeper, far more eloquent, delicate, sacred, beautiful, and yes, rare. It is the pursuit not of a career, but of a calling. You pick a career, but you don't pick a calling. It picks you. When your job becomes solely a career, it enters that narrow space of the ego, and it suffocates the heart. A calling is a unique God-given vocation for the common good that expands the heart. The character of a career is measured by success. The character of a calling is measured by fidelity. Your vision will develop your personal character, or not, as a social worker. Now, we have enough career people in the world trying to get ahead in society and climb their way to the top above the masses. What we need is more people willing to passionately go below society to its depths and help others get ahead and secure a place, while the culture teaches you to move up the ladder. Character causes you to look down and to give a hand to those left at the bottom. As the philosopher Kierkegaard wrote, only the one who descends into the underworld rescues the beautiful. Only the one who descends into the underworld rescues the beautiful. It is the underworld of human need and societal forgetfulness that the social worker enters and makes beautiful. Through sacrificial service, compelled by a transcendent purpose. You and I live in a throwaway culture where people are judged on their work and their productivity, rather than on their inherent dignity. So vision your life as a calling. Concentrate on building your character, not your career. Live out your life as a vocation. A vocation is not a noun, it's a verb. You don't have a vocation, you live one. Measure its ongoing character, not by your success, but by your fidelity. And people you never would expect to will pick up on the difference. When my 6.5-year-old nephew was asked by his teacher what he had done on his spring break, Alex stood up tall and proud and announced to the entire class, "I've been to heaven and I've seen God." Alex had just been on his first plane trip. And of course he believed what his parents had told him, that God lives above the clouds. So as soon as the plane got beyond those billowing white pillows, Alex jumped up, turned around, and proclaimed his belief to the entire plane. "We're in heaven. Be on the lookout for God." Here's his mother. I don't know whose kid he is. Well, his teacher and classmates were just a little bit skeptical. Alex saw this, grew indignant, and declared, "My uncle believes me, and he works for God." True story. Alex is right, of course. His uncle does work for God, but more accurately with God. But in truth, so do all of us. The essence of our journey on this earth calls us to embrace this God-given truth of our lives. That we are all historic figures with a transcendent purpose, sent out as instruments for the common good. Your professors here today represent such historic figures in your lives. Now, why do I say God-given truth or calling? Graduation speakers across the country this month will be telling people, follow your own heart. Follow your truth as you understand it. Listen to your own voice. Don't follow your own truth, your own heart, your own voice. It changes from day to day. Follow the heart, the truth, and the voice of the common good that you see all around you. Follow the infinite truth that you see and you witness and you celebrate in those you serve. We all work with God, that force of infinite love that is the impulse behind all that is good. And our lives ultimately find meaning only in self-surrender to the divine, among us in 1,001 disguises. So yeah, with Alex, be on the lookout for God throughout it all. If we're not careful, any of us can drift into a narcissistic vision all too common today. One that's self-referential, self-promotional, and eventually self-defeating. Well, let's leave that to the politicians. The Christian vision that is at the very inspiration of the founding of MacMurray is that our lives ultimately only have meaning not in self-assertion, but in self-donation. Most people get up every day and make demands on reality. The person of character asks the question, what is reality demanding of me? So does the social worker. MacMurray's motto, knowledge, faith, and service, is not just a marketing tagline. It is the embodiment of a vision. Knowledge gained here, seen through the lens of faith, summons us to service for the common good, for that vehicle through which God's footprints will walk the pages of history through you and I. Author David Brooks, in The Road to Character, discusses character as a series of dispositions, habits, and choices formed while being attentive to eulogy values rather than resume values. Now, we need the resume values to build a career, but we must be intentional about those eulogy values if we want to build our character. While the culture constantly clamors for us to have more, character calls us to be more. Graduates, who you are becoming is far more important than what you achieve as a professional. Because in the end, you can't separate the one from the other and leave anything lasting. As the wise Dumbledore said to the young Potter, it's not our abilities or our achievements, Harry, that tell us who we are. It's our choices. The social work department has chosen for its emblem 3 intersecting circles of leadership, scholarship, and service. It's a rich trifecta on which to build a calling, not a career, and the character to support it. Leadership. You're not entering an easy profession. Probably one of the very hardest, but also one that needs you the most. And you will feel inadequate. I get it. I wake up every day with the name Father Wisdom. Let me tell you about inadequate. It's a wonder I get out of bed in the morning. Today's social worker needs the heart of a servant, the soul of a missionary, and the focus of a prophet. The heart of a servant, the soul of a missionary, and the focus of a prophet. When you go out to the field, you want to change the world. Great. Remember, you do that one person at a time. Bold leadership is a lot like bold preaching. If effective, it will comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Be advised, prophets are rarely accepted in their own home, but you'll be in good company. President Obama has routinely been mocked for having been a community organizer in his past life. Jane Addams was called a communist before World War I. Dorothy Day, one of the 20th century's most inspirational social workers, was dismissed as a socialist after founding the Catholic Workers' Movement. And Mother Teresa received patronizing questions all the time about her work on behalf of the poor as a mere drop in the vast ocean of poverty. Ah, yes, but it is that one drop, she would respond. Scholarship is not simply about privately keeping up with the latest journals and books. It's contributing to the larger conversation whenever we can. And this is never more important than in a time when we're experiencing wholesale demonization of the poor and the marginalized and the disadvantaged. So read, reflect, write, speak, and allow no excuse for self-limiting definitions that you can't do those things. Because you can, and you will. Your words have never been more needed when it has become a badge of honor in today's climate to proclaim one's prejudice, to bear proudly one's bias, with no public shame for scapegoating whole groups of people. Stay in touch with other social workers to keep you accountable to growing in your field in these challenges. After all, it's in our code of conduct to support each other. Don't stay in your comfort zone. Service is about, in the old adage, forgetting oneself on purpose. It's not about becoming a perfectionist. Service is about excellence, not perfectionism. On my desk, to remind me of this, is the following definition. Excellence is a result of caring more than others think is wise, risking more than others think is safe, dreaming more than others think is practical, and expecting more than others think is possible. You see, the social worker who perseveres competes not against others to be the best against others in her field, but against her own last best effort. It's not about comparing myself to others, but measuring and examining my progress against my commitment to care more, to risk more, to dream more, to expect more from myself than I did before. So avoid that wasteful, fertile conversation about perfectionism and strive for excellence in all you do for those you serve. You know, in the final analysis, a pinning ceremony is like a baptism. You know, we're baptized into a new calling. We're sent out like messengers and prophets into the field of those who can't speak for themselves. We're sent forth to advocate, to organize on behalf of those whose voice is not being heard, compelled by what Martin Luther King often called the fierce urgency of now. Don't focus on yourselves. Focus on those who need you. We are in missionary territory where the terrain will feel at times foreign and unforgiving. But you're ready. Right now you are blossoming with all the knowledge and the values and the skills that you've learned in this discipline of social work. Let those gifts ripen over a lifetime. Your work is not done. It's just begun. So remember, believe that one person, you, can be that pebble in the pond that can change the course of history. Don't forget to say thank you. Stay in touch and help support the institution and the social work program. After all, the soul of MacMurray is not in its charming colonial buildings. It's not in its intimately laid out campus, lovely as those are. The soul of MacMurray is the people it attracts on both sides of the desk and leaves transformed. As Professor Rental thoughtfully observed, what you find and ultimately gain from your brief time at MacMurray you carry with you for an entire lifetime. It's the stuff of love, a reverence for the dignity of the other. So graduates, take that stuff of love and reverence and hit the road. But not the road to a career, but to a calling. Not the road to success, but to fidelity. And not to a life that serves up self-assertion, but a life that offers self-donation.